All right, so today we're going to be talking about the power of identity. Become the person you aspire to be. I'll tell you this. So on my fitness journey, there was a point in my very early on where I had already made the commitment that I wanted to get my six pack, and I literally had to start identifying as a bodybuilder. Mind you, I was 306 pounds, talking about King Fluffy. Like, I wasn't playing fat. I was fat for real. And the thing is that I had to, even though I didn't look like a bodybuilder outwardly, my mindset had to be a bodybuilding mindset. My habits had to reflect that or be consistent with a bodybuilder, because people get it twisted, right? They think that you do stuff and then become the person, right? But the reality is that you do the stuff that the person you want to become does, even though you aren't that person yet. And eventually the doing of the stuff causes you to be that person. So in my instance, it was, even though I didn't have a six pack, I didn't have the physique of a bodybuilder, I did the things that bodybuilders did. So I meal prep, I ate, I worked out every day, I ate healthy, ate in accordance with my goals. And it's funny because you had people who saw me or who knew me from before, and we would go out and they'd be like, all right, Ethan, what you drinking? No, I'm not drinking. I got to train in the morning. But they knew me for who I was, not who I was trying to be. And it's like knowing the end goal, knowing where you're going, knowing who it is that you're working to become is so important, because it keeps you focused. And I'll never forget, I remember one time I went out to dinner, and the waitress came over, and she said, you ate what? I said, yes, I just want a grilled piece of chicken breast and some salad. And she legit looked at me and she said, big man, you sure that's all you want? Because, literally a couple of months prior, it was a spot that I went to, I would have gotten the fried pork chop dinner with the peas and rice, potato salad and coleslaw, and a vodka and cranberry. But I didn't do that. And it was crazy, because eventually what happened was, where that initial me identifying as a bodybuilder, even though I didn't have the body of a bodybuilder, was strange. The same is reverse. Because when I was a bodybuilder and I did have my physique, and people who didn't know 306 pound me, they only know Mr. Bahamas me, when they saw me eating a piece of fried chicken, or they saw me drinking this, like, you could eat that, you could drink that. And it's crazy. So I'm a firm believer in, you have to identify as the person that you are. And that's completely different than faking it until you make it. Faking it until you make it is bullshit. But dressing for where you're going, not where you are, is facts. It's like they don't need to know where you're going. You know where you're going. And so you have to act accordingly. And when you get to where you're going, then your actions will make sense to them. But that's because they can't see beyond the here and now. You, because you know where you're going, can see further than that. Now, one of the questions I get is, how do you separate who you were from who you're becoming? And I don't know if separation really should be the goal, right? I don't think we should try and separate, because the reality is that everything that we've experienced, everything that we were, has contributed to who we are today. And who we're becoming also is dependent on who we decide to be today. So I don't think that trying to separate who you were from who you're becoming should be the goal. I actually think that we should embrace who we were. we should embrace, and that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I do think that we should also find power or be empowered by the fact that I can make the decision to no longer be that thing, especially if that thing or that person is not who I want to become or is inconsistent. And that could only happen in the now. But in the now, we are both who we were and who we're becoming. But every decision, every step really is determined by which one we decide to lead with. And so my thing is, like, don't try to separate it, accept it, build on it, find power in that. But find power in the now that I have decided to become something more and take those steps necessary. And then sometimes, that means that if you're trying or you're working to become something more, you have to not go to the same old places, not hang around the same old people, definitely not do the same old things. And so that means that you may have to find new places to go, find new people to hang out with, and definitely find new things to do. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I don't think one should try and necessarily separate. I think one should work to evolve and just make the decision in the now that I am going to let who I want to become dictate my actions as opposed to who I was. The identity shifts that I think turned the biggest corner for me was me really embracing, I think, what is my superpower. The fact that I can visualize things so clearly, and I have these very vivid, very real visions. And before I just thought, it is your imagination, but before I just thought, that was something that I had to grow out of. It was very juvenile, it was very childlike. But embracing the fact that really this is a part of who I am, like I can see things, I can talk to people and I can see things so clearly. Till I could hear the sounds, I can smell the smells, I can taste the tastes, and I can see everything so vividly. And really just embracing that as a part of who I am and leaning into that really shifted my trajectory to where I'm headed in life, because I realized that the reason I have these visions and the reason I have these ideas is because I can't achieve them. Is because really that's my gift. And so just identifying as somebody who is just gifted, this is my gift. Everybody has gifts. I can't run very fast. I can't sing for shit. But I have the gift of vision. And I think, recognizing that and identifying that as my gift and somebody who has that really changed the trajectory of my life, because I honestly believe like there's nothing I can't achieve. If I have it in my mind, if I have that thought, if I have that idea, I know I can make it happen. Like, and I have proven that over and repeatedly, but recognizing that it's not an accident. Like I can literally do that at will. The question I get asked sometimes is, how do I handle people who want me to stay the old version of myself? I don't. Like, I don't try to handle them. I really just remove them from my life. I'm a firm believer in every relationship, from business to romantic to platonic to friendships to relationships that I have with my team, at my business. Like, I believe that it should be value-based. I do believe that we should evaluate our relationships based on value. And if you aren't bringing value to me, and I'm not bringing value to you, we don't need to be in a relationship, regardless of the type of relationship. And so if I have articulated to you, if I have demonstrated to you that I want to make myself better, I want to grow, I want to evolve, I want to become the best version of myself, and that requires me to stop doing things that I used to do or identify more with who I'm becoming versus who I was, and you keep trying to pull me back to where I'm trying to run from, then that means you are not adding value. In actuality, you are a hindrance. You are a weight. You are no longer serving me the way that I need to be served. You aren't helping me get to where I'm going. You're trying to hold me back to where I'm trying to get from. And so if that is the case, then I just cut you. I don't have a problem cutting people off. I've done it. I don't have a problem. And I honestly, I can't afford it. I can't afford to have people in my life that are trying to keep me from growing. Like I can't afford that. And so if that is something that you're experiencing, if you have somebody in your life that's keeping you from growing, that's preventing you or trying to stop you from being the best version of yourself, that's trying to stop you from accomplishing the goals and the dreams, that's constantly reminding you of the dumb shit that you used to do back then deuces, man, get rid of them. Remove yourself from that situation. I don't care who it is. I honestly don't care who it is. If you have somebody in your life, regardless of who it is, that's constantly reminding you and trying to hold you back from growing, from becoming the best version of yourself, from going after and accomplishing the goals and the dreams that you have, I say cut them off. Distance yourself from them. And just keep it moving. You know, if you really want to become the person that you dream about, if you really want to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, then literally the only thing you need to do is start walking in that direction. Like, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you got to start eating like a bodybuilder. You got to start training like a bodybuilder, even though your body does not look like a body of a bodybuilder. If you want to be a wealthy person, you need to start thinking like a wealthy person. You need to start moving money like a wealthy person. And I'm not talking about, you may not have millions or thousands or even hundreds of dollars to move, but what do wealthy people do? What is the wealthy mindset around money? And so if you start doing these things that are characteristics of the person that you want to become, eventually you will become that person. That's why you have people say success is not about the destination, it's about the journey. And that is so true in that. And something else, while we're on that, like if you think about, and I share this with my team, like if you set a goal that you could accomplish, the goal isn't big enough. You need to set a goal that you, today, right now, the person that you are in this moment cannot accomplish. Set that goal. But then do the actions and do the steps and do what's required to become the person that can accomplish that. Today, right now, I'm not the person who can build $100 million company. But I know that's the end goal. And so what I'm doing is I'm focusing on doing the things and acquiring the skills and amassing the relationships of somebody who can build $100 million media company. And so I think that's where, you should focus your energies, efforts, and resources on doing the things that are characteristic of the person that you want to become. And eventually, you will wake up one morning and you will be that person. Your identity sets the ceiling. Become the person your goals demand, not the person your past is comfortable with. Remember, get uncomfortable and do the work because the world needs your greatness. Peace.